to Original Joe's in downtown San Jose at 301 South 1st Street. Michael Spiro alongside San Jose State head coach Mike MacIntyre. And Coach, not dressed up for Halloween, but will you be heading home afterwards to dress up possibly and hand out some candy?
No, I dressed up this morning as a football coach. That's what I did. So, no, we're our kids. They made pumpkins. My two boys, they compete every year and see how many hits they can get on their Instagrams or whatever those things are called. And my little one won. So they'll be doing that. They'll be handing out candy. I think one of my youngest one went over to a friend's house, and they'll be going out. And then my older one, I'll go back later on this night. Tonight I've got to go back to work from here, but later on tonight we'll go by and we'll probably hang out for a little while and hand out some candy maybe.
That sounds like you'll have some fun tonight regardless. Well, Coach, tonight on the show, a lot to go over. We're going to look back at your win over Texas State. We'll look at where San Jose State football is at this point in the season, because we're at a key point in the season. We're about to November, starting tomorrow, and 4 regular season games to go. So we'll get your thoughts on the team position by position. We'll review things. Our guest tonight will be wide receivers coach and recruiting coordinator Terry Malley, and we'll wrap up the show with you, Coach Mack, previewing Saturday's upcoming game, San Jose State at Idaho. And back on the road this week, Coach. 2 straight road games here to start the month of November. Right. Should be a good challenge for your club.
Yes, it's going to be a very good challenge. Idaho is a team that has beat us the last 3 years. I think the last time San Jose State beat them, I think it was 2008. So it's they've kind of got our number. We had a heartbreaking loss last time we went there to the Kibbe Dome. I think about it about once every 2 weeks, I think, or maybe even more. Kind of a nightmarish day. And hopefully the kids are ready to play, and I think they are. We've had a great week of practice, and they've been focused and ready to go. So we've got to go down there and take care of business.
Do you like how this schedule's set up to wrap up the season? You go for 2 straight on the road, which is certainly a challenge, but you passed that challenge earlier this season. Then you have 2 tough games to finish the season, but both of those against BYU and then Louisiana Tech right here in San Jose at Spartan Stadium.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about being able to play our last 2 home games in Spartan Stadium, and when we get there to the time of that, we'll be excited about it. But we're not even thinking past today, really, preparing for Idaho and getting that game taken care of. But finishing out at home will be fun.
You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show on KLIV. Be sure to join us at the downtown San Jose Original Joe's every Wednesday night leading up to a Spartan football game. We record the show from 6 to 7 p.m. and you can always catch it on 1590 KLIV Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Well, Coach, let's look back at last Saturday's victory over Texas State. You brought in Texas State to Spartan Stadium, picked up a 31-20 victory at home over the Bobcats, moving San Jose State to 6-2 on the season and 2-1 in WAC play.
Yes, our kids played extremely hard. I knew Texas State was going to be a tough game to prepare for. They beat Houston at Houston, who was 10-2 last year, in their opener at Houston, 35-14, and was beating Nevada going into the 4th quarter. I knew they were a very tough team and had a good offensive scheme. Dennis Francione had 2 weeks to prepare. And he kind of put in a couple of new wrinkles, and we got over there and fixed it, and here we went. And I was really proud of how they played in the second half. We shut them out. They only had 98 yards. We moved the ball at will. Had a couple untimely turnovers that we haven't been doing, but we were able to overcome those. And I thought they played really hard and played well. Texas State's a good football team.
Yeah, give them credit, Coach. Went to halftime, they were leading 20-17. You come out in the 3rd quarter, though, 14-0 San Jose State in the 3rd quarter on your way to that 31-20 victory. And you mentioned 98 yards for Texas State, just 98 yards in the closing half. They were limited to just 4 first downs, and their quarterback, who's that dual-threat guy, can hurt you with his arm and running. He's only able to rush for 11 yards in the closing half. So what adjustments did you make at halftime? What did you tell your guys in the locker room?
Well, number 1, we kind of got used to the speed of it. It's a little bit of a misdirection. Number 2, they were doing a little bit more speed option where the quarterback was just keeping it because we were taking away the dive. And to stop an option offense, to keep it from going, you have to take away the dive. If you don't, then they crease you and then they can do everything. So we squeeze on that, and then they did a couple of new blocking schemes on it, and our kids figured out how we would play it, and we told them, and they were able to correct it, and they did really well, and they played extremely hard. We're in great condition. That's the other thing. We're in phenomenal condition. And we kind of just keep playing. In the second halves of every game this year, we're outscoring teams 133-68. Teams are only averaging 8 points in the second half on us. we're averaging like 17 a game in the second half. So we're pretty much, I would say, dominating the second halves of games, and we're starting to start out fast too. You know, we got up on and went down and scored first, and we had a couple of chances there, and we gave them a couple fluky turnovers, and we haven't been doing that, and that's something we'll rectify this week, and gave them a little bit of life, so to speak. But I was pleased with how our kids played hard, played really hard.
You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show on KLIV. Well, Coach, let's look at your offense here. 28 first downs, Texas State just 10.
Yep.
You're 7 of 12 on third down. Texas State was just 4 for 13. You also dominated time of possession. Now, how about this number here? I know you and Coach Lindgren are like this, 571 yards of offense.
Yes, we had 571 yards of offense, and should have got the ball in the end zone a couple more times, but didn't. Credit to Texas State, and our kids just kept battling, and we basically outgained them 600 yards to 300 yards. We doubled basically everything they did or more, and the game, I think, was a little bit closer than the score. Closer than the score was. What I mean is I think we could have beat them a little bit worse, but we didn't get in the end zone. But I felt like we were in control of the game the whole second half.
Well, your junior quarterback, David Fales, goes 26 of 38 for 376 yards, a couple of touchdowns and 2 interceptions. How comforting is it for you knowing you're going to have him around next season, too?
Oh, it's very comforting. And he just keeps getting better and better. I saw him at the office right before I left. He was in there working on studying Idaho and looking at practice tape and that type of thing. He's just a really, really neat kid. The thing that was funny is last week was midterm week for him. He had 3 exams and 2 papers due. So he was working hard, doing all that, and I would see him, and he was in the study hall, and then he would come in and watch tape, and he was up late, and I'd see him over there at 10 o'clock at night in study hall and leave, and I said, what? And he said, Coach, I got papers, I got tests. I'm like, uh-oh, we'll see how he does. And no, he responded good. I guess he needs all he can get. 376 yards, well, I'll let him do some more midterm. He said he doesn't have any to test this week, so that'll be good.
Yeah, tell him no tests, you got to go over 400 yards.
Exactly right. Exactly
I always
right.
Mess with him because his completion percentage is so high. So well, you got to hit 90% in a game, Corn.
Yeah, he should. He should.
Well, let's look at your senior running back, Dalian Eskridge. He's actually our pregame interview this week for the pregame show against Idaho. He rushed the ball 25 times for 134 yards and a score. Good to see him go over 100 yards.
Yes, it was. Dalian's just a phenomenal young man, and it got rolling there, and we were able to give it to him, and he did a great job of running. And really pleased with what he's done, and I think he'll keep having good games the rest of the year. And you've got, with Tyler Urban bummed up a little bit, David Freeman stepped in and did really well, and so I feel like those 2 guys can keep carrying us, and I'm excited about what they're doing.
Yeah, Freeman, you send him in there. Also a senior, but different type of back, a lot of speed, more of a slashing type of back. Able to find the end zone twice, once on a run, which obviously running backs love, but he had a pretty big highlight play with a 78-yard touchdown catch and run.
Yeah, he sure did, and that was a play we had set up for Tyler. And then Tyler got hurt, and David could do it and had practiced it, so we let Tyler do it. And David do it. Sure enough, he caught it and went 78 yards. It was a beautiful play. It was a lot of fun. And he's a young man who's kind of been up and down a little bit on the roster, but has always stayed positive and kept working and has his role. And I think he's going to end up his senior year on a really positive note. He's a really good player, and I'm glad we got him.
Well, final look at some of the other guys getting involved. Noel Grigsby finished the day with a half-dozen catches. Chandler Jones comes up with his team-leading 6th touchdown reception of the season. So good to see the little guys coming up big for you as well. As we switch gears and look at the defense, Coach, your senior safety, Colin Newsom, had a great day and earned WAC Defensive Player of the Week recognition, a season-high 10 tackles. He also had a key interception in the game.
Yeah, Cullen played really well. And Cullen and I had met earlier in the week, and I knew he was going to have to make a lot of individual tackles. And if he did, we would have a good day. If he didn't, we'd have a tough day. And he did a great job. He prepared for it. He worked on it. He had to tackle that guy a little low and wrap him up, and did a great job of that. And then his interception, he was the backside. He was a free roamer and just read the quarterback's eyes. It was a big, big play for us in the game, and kind of got the momentum rolling. We didn't score after that. We fumbled right after that, but that kind of changed the tide, and they really didn't move the ball hardly at all after that. And so that was a big play for us. I'm really proud of Cullen.
Well, your defense likes this award. 4 of the Spartans have received WAC Defensive Player of the Week honors, in addition to Colin Newsom, Travis Johnson, your defensive end 2 times, linebacker Vince Buhaja, and then defensive back Benet Ben-Wickery. Tyler Irvin has received the award for special teams play. When is the offense going to get some love from the Western Athletic Conference?
They need to get some love.
Does the defense have all the bragging rights during the week in the locker room?
It's kind of how it hits sometimes.
Yeah.
You go and the defensive guy do well, and somebody on another team had some unbelievable day, and it could be vice versa. So I'm pretty sure the offense will hit here pretty soon. They definitely deserve it.
Yeah, they've been recognized, but as an honorable mention during the week. You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show here on KLIV. San Jose State hits the road again this Saturday, taking on Idaho at the Kibbie Dome in Moscow, Idaho. Kickoff is set for 2 p.m. Pacific. The Spartan pregame show set to begin at 1:30 p.m. It's all right here on the Spartan Sports Network's flagship station, 1590 KLIV. Well, Coach, before we get out of here and get to a short break, want to touch on your special teams play again. Your freshman kicker stays perfect. Austin Lopez, now 13 of 13 kicking field goals on the season.
Yeah, Austin has done really well. Ryan DeSalvo, the snapper, David Bradbury, the holder, they've just worked really well as a team, and the front line is really protected well. It's just an all-out effort, and it's exciting to watch Austin kick. And, you know, it's funny. Once we cross the 50, I don't know if y'all have ever seen Austin Lopez on the sideline. He is getting jacked. He wants to kick a field goal. So he wants to go in. He's not a guy that shies away from it. He's really excited about it. And we want him to kick, too. We just want him to kick extra points. Yeah. And but I'm really proud of Austin. He's doing really well. And has a great temperament to him. Has really worked hard and hadn't let it go to his head at all. And he'll hopefully he goes perfect the rest of the year.
Well, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll review San Jose State 8 games into the season with Coach MacIntyre. You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show on 1590 KLIV. MacIntyre Show here at the Original Bills. Michael Spear alongside San Jose State head coach Mike MacIntyre. Coach, we talk so much about X's and O's and obviously so much football talk on the show. I thought I'd throw some questions at you here tonight so the fans can kind of get to know you a little bit more away from the football field. And no real order for these questions, nothing too difficult for you, but we'll get to know you a little bit more away from the X's and O's. Start with a sports-related one for you. If you were not coaching football and you had to coach another sport, which one would it be?
Basketball.
Why is that?
I love basketball. And I played both in high school and really enjoyed it, and really kind of made a decision if I was going to play college basketball or college football, and decided to play football. I love basketball, I really do. If I wasn't a football coach, I'd be a basketball coach.
Well, Coach, you've been in the Bay Area now a few years. I got to ask you, leaning one way or the other here, A's or Giants?
Giants, of course, right now.
That's the good answer right now, huh?
I really don't know a lot of Giant players. I have a young man that I recruited and signed at Ole Miss named Seth Smith that plays for the A's. And so I've known him since he was 18 years old. And so I have a tie-in with them because of that. But, I'm for whichever team's doing well. And I'm not really a big baseball fan. But I was really excited anytime when our teams seen them both in the playoffs, and I was really excited that the Giants won. That's exciting for the Bay Area, it really is.
How about NFL-wise, Raiders or 49ers? You lean one way or the other there?
I have friends on both staffs, and so I just want them both to win, really. Let them keep their jobs. That's what I want them to do.
Well, Coach, how about favorite movie for Coach MacIntyre?
Whoa, favorite movie. That's a good question. I probably Chariots of Fire, and I like what the movie stood for. I like what it was about. It's a movie that came out in the '80s, and it's a track movie, but it's an athletic movie, and it's kind of a movie about a guy who sacrificed a lot of things and the whole. He could have ran 100 meters and he didn't because he believed in a certain thing and didn't run it, and then ran the 400 meters and never run it before and won it. And it was a pretty amazing story.
Well, I know you're certainly obviously very busy during the season. I don't know if you have enough time to develop a favorite television show, but if so, do you have one?
No. ESPN Sports Center. And early in the morning, maybe. That's about it.
I thought that might be your answer. Well, it is Halloween tonight. I know you didn't dress up here today, but looking back to the younger Coach MacIntyre, do you have an all-time best Coach Mac Halloween costume?
Oh, no, not really.
Were you always a football player, dressed up as a football player?
Dressed up. remember any of those.
Nothing too exciting on the Halloween day?
No, not that I know of.
Well, that's all right. Well, how about if we got a hold of your iPod? What music would we find on there?
Well, I don't have one.
You live in Silicon Valley and no iPod?
I don't have an iPod.
CD player.
But if you came to my office, I guess I'm a little different. I listen to contemporary Christian music all the time, and so you would hear that on in my office, and kind of gets me a little calmer, a little peaceful, kind of puts things in perspective at times. That's kind of what I listen to. And if it's not on that, it'd be on some country music.
Yeah, I knew you'd go there with Nashville ties. Yeah. Same here, Coach. I love the country music as well. Well, during the off season, let's look at the off season for you. When you have time, ideal vacation destination for you and your family?
Yes, Amelia Island, Florida.
Okay.
We call that paradise. That's where we've gone for the last, 25 years. We get to go on the family plan. That's what makes it nice. Now, here's the family plan. When I got married into Trish's family, Mr. Round said, you can come on the family plan. As long as you bring my daughter, you can come and I'll pay for it. And then when we had grandkids, as long as you bring the grandkids, I'll take care of it. But if you come by yourself, forget it. And so I get the family plan.
Well, there you go. Works out all right. If you could have the opportunity to sit down and grab lunch with anyone in the world, inside or outside of the sports world, dead or alive, who would that be and why?
Oh, dead or alive.
You can take your time to think about this one. I know that's a tough one. There's a lot of options. Inside or outside?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'd probably like to have lunch with John Wooden. I think he would be a neat guy. I liked what he stood for. I liked what he did. I've read all his books, I think he'd just be, and him being a coach, I could relate pretty well with him. I would say probably John Wooden would be one.
Well, he's certainly an influential person. Who has influenced you the most in your life and helped shape you into the person you are today?
My dad. My dad has. He is a phenomenal man.
For those that don't know, your father, of course, a head coach as well.
He's a head football coach, and I always grew up going to the football games and following him and standing on the sidelines and doing all that type of thing. But he was what you saw was what you got. He was a phenomenal father, a great dad, a great husband. The way he loved my mom and cared for her, and then to see him battle this MS that he has now. He went from when he was 57 running 5 miles a day to all of a sudden 4 years later he couldn't even walk, and see how he is now. You go see him, he's sitting in the bed and he can't move hardly, and you go and hey, how you doing? He goes, fantastic. I said, you're just sitting here. So he's just a great inspiration to everybody that's ever met him, ever been around him, and he's the only person I know that can handle what he's handling the way he handles it. He just has a great faith and a great spirit to him.
All right, Coach, great stuff. You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show here on KLIV. You survived all those rounds of questions.
Yep.
We'll jump back into some football talk with you now, Coach. As we look at your team, 8 games into the season, and again getting set for a big month of November. The Spartans currently sitting at 6-2, 2 road games to start the month, and then 2 at home to conclude the regular season here in San Jose. Let's start on offense, Coach, and look at your junior quarterback, David Fales. He joined the program in January, earned the starting job in the offseason. Now he has your team sitting at 6-2. Nationally, he's 2nd in completion percentage, 7th in the nation in quarterback rating, and 8th in the country in passing yards. What's your message to him as he prepares for this final month of the regular season?
Well, just to keep focused and keep doing what he's been doing. And he really enjoys playing. He enjoys people. He's really calm. He's really focused and very intense at the same time. And all the kids love him. He doesn't have any ego to him. And I think just keep doing what he's doing, keep enjoying it, keep enjoying the moment, and just realize what got him there. It's his hard work, it's his focus, it's his preparation. And we've talked about that, and he's doing well with it.
Well, I know he gives a lot of his credit to the guys up front and the offensive line this season, I should say, some new faces here in 2012 up front for him. How important has this unit been in terms of David Fales' success?
Oh, extremely important in terms of his success. Besides our one misfortunate game there, they played really, really, really well. And so I'm just pleased with those guys, and Coach Bernardi does a great job with them. And they know that David has a lot of confidence in them and trust them, and there's a good rapport there.
Looking at your running game, Dalian Eskridge leading the team in rushing with 586 yards on the season. Also contributions from Tyler Irvin, David Freeman, Ina Liaina, and also Blake Jurich, who's a quarterback but can certainly run the football. Looking at Jurich, though, what is his ability to mix it up offensively done with your week-to-week approach on offense?
Well, I think it gives us an ability to do some things that are unique. It also gives us the ability to have the other team has to work on it every day for a 10 to 15 minute period. They have to always be prepared, and when he comes in, he's not just a wildcat guy. I mean, he can throw the football, he can check out of things, he can do everything. He's a really good football player, and I think he's got a really good future in front of him, and I think he brings a lot to the table for us.
Well, back to Dalian Eskridge, had a solid rushing game this past week against Texas State. Again, he'll be our guest on the pregame show this Saturday before the Idaho game. As a team, 195 total rushing yards last week against Texas State. How about your expectations for the running backs as we get set for the final 4 games of the regular season?
Yes, I would definitely hope that we can, in all our games ahead, that we can rush for over 150 yards in each game. But that goes into how we are able to move the ball. If there's some teams that we're able to move the ball better by throwing it, and then they get 70 yards, but it's on 20 carries or something to that effect, or 15 carries, or however it works out. Because some teams do a little bit different things to you schematically. Because we do have, one of the very best tight ends in America. We've got the best receiver in the history of the school. So sometimes it's hard to just go hand the ball off every time when you got talent like that out there if you're not getting chunks of yardage like you want. But I'm pleased with the running backs and what they're doing. But the more balance you have, then the more ability you're going to have for big plays and holding on the ball and scoring points.
Well, speaking of wide receivers, Noel Grigsby, as you mentioned, they're the best all-time, of course, statistically at San Jose State. Chandler Jones also in the mix, Jabari Carr and Kyle Nunn. All these guys are threats. So as opposed to having just 1, 2, or 3 wide receivers to look to, how does having 4 targets that can hurt a defense help your offense?
Well, I think that's why we're able to have the highest efficiency passing in the country. When David goes and does his reads, whoever he throws it to is going to catch it and going to make a play. And Terry Malley does a phenomenal job with those receivers, and they know what they're doing, and they know how to run their routes, and they know how to get open, and they have very good ball security, and all of that is very, very key. And the other thing about most of our receivers, but a couple of them, even if they're covered, somehow they come down with the ball.
Yeah. And
that's a quality that you don't see real often. And we got a couple of guys that do that all the time, every game, and if they don't, you're like, how did he drop that? And, well, they're draped all over him, but he usually makes it. So I think that's a big deal for us.
Well, you mentioned your tight end too. Ryan Otten, 30 receptions on the year. Helps having Peter Tuitupo complement him in the tight end position.
Very good player.
You got not only 1, but 2 solid tight ends, and that's big for this offense. It's putting up big numbers.
Yeah, it's huge. We have 2 excellent tight ends. Nobody in the league has 2 better tight ends than us. And I would say in the country, there might be a couple teams, but I don't know if they're better than those 2. They might be just as good, but those 2 kids are very good players, and I think both of them would have a chance to maybe do something on Sundays. I really do.
You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show here on KLIV. We're at Original Joe's in downtown San Jose at 301 South 1st Street. San Jose State hits the road this week, playing at Idaho on Saturday. Kickoff is set for 2 p.m. with the Spartan pregame show beginning at 1:30. It's all right here on the Spartan Sports Network and 1590 KLIV. Well, Coach, let's transition over to your defense now.
Yeah.
One of your team captains, defensive end Travis Johnson, 4th in the nation with 9.5 sacks on the year. Among active players at the collegiate level, Johnson is 1st in the country with 28.5 career sacks. He also has 15.5 tackles for loss this season. What does Travis Johnson mean to San Jose State football?
Everything. He's exactly what you stand for in a young man. He's exactly what you're looking for academically. He's exactly what you're looking for in work ethic and character, and he's exactly what you're looking for on the football field. If you could cut and carve out a player and you say, I want him to be like this, you cut out Travis Johnson. And he is a phenomenal young man, and I'm excited about watching him play his last 4 games and hopefully some more. And he's just been a pleasure to coach and be around. He's one of the best team leaders I've ever been around, ever. What he's done this senior year, the way he talks to them, the way they react, how he leads them on the field, off the field. He is a total character builder. I just can't say enough about the young man, and we're going to sorely miss him when he leaves, and there'll be a few tears shed by me, I guarantee you.
Well, looking at him and what he does on the field, obviously the other team's always focusing in on him. So when he's double-teamed, that allows some of your other guys to step up and make some plays, which is key.
Yes, it does. It allows the other ones to step up and make plays, and they slide the protection to him some, and that frees up, and we can work games on the backside that help us when we see teams doing that, so we can take advantage of it. It's kind of like when you have a great basketball score and they play a boxing one. You know, you can work things together. That's kind of what we're able to do sometimes. So, but he brings a lot to the table and also backs it up every Saturday.
Again, Johnson, 4th in the country with 9.5 sacks on the year, but as a team, San Jose State tied for 9th in the nation in sacks per game at just over 3 sacks per game. So your overall thoughts on the guys up front defensively?
Jim Jeffcoat's done a phenomenal job with them. They're playing really well. They're playing hard. You know, we got quite a few guys that can play. That's the key. And we're going to need them Saturday because this team will throw the football, and we need to be able to harass the quarterback with 4 guys. And when you can do that, you got a chance to be successful on defense.
Coach, looking at your linebackers, Vince Buhager leading the way this season with 54 tackles. A bunch of great guys at the linebacker spot. How fun are these guys to coach?
Oh, they are a blast. And Vince Buhager is he's really playing well this year. He was beat up a little bit last year. He is a team leader. He's kind of fallen right in the footsteps a year behind Travis Johnson. I mean, they listen to him. He plays hard. He does well. They're great kids. They're so funny. As a matter of fact, I just left the football office on the way over here, and Keith Smith was walking in with a bag of Chipotle, and he had his football helmet on. I go, why do you get? Well, if you go to Chipotle, you can, with a costume on, you get $2 burritos. So he put his helmet on and put Chipotle. I was dying laughing. So you know, those are fun times, and it was really neat.
Well, Coach, looking at your secondary now, heading into this season, you know, people saying, well, shoot, they're going to be without Duke Iheanacho, who's now in the practice squad with the Denver Broncos.
He's been activated. He's been playing.
They have activated him.
Yeah,
okay.
He's been playing. He's number 33.
When did that, do you know when?
They activated him the 4th game of the year. When we were coming back, from Navy. He texted me. He said, Coach, I'm activated.
Oh, great for him.
Tell the boys I said congratulations. So I told them all on the airplane.
That's great.
And so, you know, sometimes that goes back and forth, activating, but they have activated him a few games he's played.
Well, that's great to hear. Going back to what I was saying, people looking at the secondary heading into this season saying, well, shoot, they're without arguably the best guy they had last year, Duke Iheanacho. But here in 2012, a number of guys have stepped up for you in the secondary in big ways.
Oh, yeah, they have. You know, James Orth has played really well for us for the last 2.5 years. And then Cullen Newsome has stepped in and played really well. And then, you know, Benet Benwickery plays nickel back and corner and has had some really big games for us. And, you know, Jimmy Pruitt, the freshman, I think is going to be a great player. And he's getting better every week. He's big and athletic. And, you know, and then Damon Ogburn was playing really well and hurt his hamstring. So all of those guys are doing some really good things. And I'm proud. You got Forrest Hightower who's rolling in there some at nickel, and got some backup safeties at Simon Canet and Travis Talianco. They're all getting after it and playing hard.
Well, and then on special teams, again, your freshman kicker is perfect. Punter Harrison Wade's averaging 43 yards per punt. Tyler Irvin has returned not 1 but 2 kickoffs for touchdowns this season. Damon Ogburn, certainly a force on special teams. And this is a unit, especially as we look ahead to this upcoming game, playing on the road, the special teams can sometimes be the difference maker in a game, especially given the fact that you're away from home.
Yeah, it can. It's going to be a big deal. You know, last week we've had to play without Damon Ogburn for a while, for the last game and a half, and we needed him last week. I knew they had good returners, and he always seems to make plays, and, you know, he's probably not going to be able to play this week either, and then, you know, Tyler Irvin is beat up a little bit, and he's not going to play this week, so we got a lot of kids that have got to step up, but that's they will. They've practiced hard. We've got a lot of guys that can do that and step into different roles and just keep moving forward.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we return, we'll be joined by San Jose State's wide receivers coach and recruiting coordinator, Terry Malley. You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show on 1590 KLIU. Welcome back to the Mike MacIntyre Show here on 1590 KLIV, the Regional Joe's in downtown San Jose. San Jose State visits Idaho this Saturday. The Spartan pregame show begins at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, and kickoff is scheduled for 2 p.m. You can catch it all right here on 1590 KLIV. And right now we're joined by San Jose State wide receivers coach and recruiting coordinator Terry Malley. Coach, good to have you back on the program. You're in your 4th year here at San Jose State, but you've been around the Bay Area for a long time, played quarterback at Santa Clara. You coached at Santa Clara under your father, the legendary Pat Malley, and then you were, in fact, the head coach at your alma mater from 1985 to 1992. And looking back to your Santa Clara days, you know, we talk so much about the conference realignment and where teams are going in the future. Now, unfortunately, Santa Clara no longer has a football program, but that was a big deal back in the day in terms of Bay Area football, San Jose State and Santa Clara. Could you touch on that matchup and what it meant to the Bay Area?
Well, it was one of the games that started the season. It was usually the first game of the year and at Labor Day weekend. And for us, we were a small program, and we ended up starting to schedule San Jose State in probably the heyday of San Jose State football. So, you know, my dad, a lot of people say nice things about him, but he wasn't the smartest Irishman that
Terry Malley with us here on the Mike MacIntyre Show. Well, Coach, 14 years also with the San Jose SaberCats of the Arena League, 9 years as the offensive coordinator. How difficult was it for you going from what we know as traditional American football to arena ball?
Well, it's really interesting because I always say my dad would have turned around and turned over in his grave if he knew I was coaching 8-man football and the music played all night long. But the neat thing about that game was that we were fortunate enough to have several quality receivers that had played in the NFL and were coming back, or young guys like Rasheed Davis, who played here at school, that was on his way up and ended up playing 9 years in the NFL. But the base things that you needed to do in the passing game were the same things. You needed to be able to throw the ball on timing, you needed to be able to move people, and you had to do a great job of spacing. So in that situation, it was really a good experience. It was a different puzzle than you usually deal with, but it still was a puzzle, and it was fun, you know, to make the pieces work.
San Jose State assistant coach Terry Malley with us on the Mike MacIntyre Show. Coach, all of these years coaching football, it's got to be special for you that you've been able to stay in the Bay Area for so long, because oftentimes coaches are just bouncing around all over the country and never really get to stay put in one place too long.
No, we've been very, very lucky, you know, is to grow up, and you know, my dad came to Santa Clara when I was 4 years old, and to be able to coach in that program and play in that program, and then when that stopped, to be able to move over to the SaberCats and be part of you know, something brand new and started from, you know, the first day, and then to have the opportunity to come over here and work in this program and to be part of building a foundation with this program. And by living in the area, you know, I didn't go to San Jose State, although I did do some work on my credential at San Jose State, but you know the history of the program. You know the people that played for them in the 60s. You know the people that you played against in the 70s and the 80s, and then you recruited those guys in the 90s to come over and play with the SaberCats. So, you know, you had a tie, although it wasn't as direct as some others, so it's been very enjoyable along those lines.
Well, in addition to coaching the wide receivers, you're, of course, the recruiting coordinator here. And speaking of relationships and recruiting, your time in the Bay Area must have allowed you to develop some serious relationships that have helped you now recruit to San Jose State.
You know, I think the biggest thing is I'm old. and I think in that situation it's been interesting because I'd been out of college football for 15 years, and the first year I went back to recruit, I was either the coach at the high school was the same guy, yeah, or it was his son, you know, and so you went all over the place. It's like all the old San Jose high school coaches. I had Sacramento the first year. All their sons are coaching in Sacramento, you know, and then there still are a lot of ties, and it's really been, you know, beneficial because the junior college coaches, you know, part of those in the Bay Area, they coached with us at the SaberCats at one time, or was Santa Clara, so they've been very helpful. You know, the high school coaches, a lot of them I recruited at one time, or I've got a bunch of SaberCat former players that are now high school coaches in the area, so it's really given us a nice foundation to go and recruit kids in this area.
San Jose State wide receivers coach and recruiting coordinator Terry Malley with us on the Mike MacIntyre Show. And Coach, looking at your group of wideouts, really some great weapons for quarterback David Fales to work with this season. Start with Noel Grigsby. He's in his junior year, already San Jose State's all-time leader in receiving yardage and receptions on the season this year. 49 catches, 96 receiving yards per game. He has 5 touchdown receptions on the season. Can you just comment on his work ethic?
Oh, isn't he awesome? You know, you just sit and Coach MacIntyre made a statement a few minutes ago about Travis Johnson, and the statement was along the lines of, they don't make many finer people, you know, and really when you sit and you go through that, you know, I don't coach Ryan Otten, but you'd say the same thing about him, and of our players, you know, Noel's unbelievable, because you sit there and you look at him, and there's guys that are bigger, there's guys that are faster, but there aren't many that are more productive. You know, what he does day in and day out against every competition you play is just awesome. And he does it with a humbleness, and he does it with a competitive fire that is just, you know, fantastic to watch.
How about Chandler Jones? Leads the team with 6 touchdown receptions on the year.
Chandler's a different guy. You know, Chandler was a walk-on that, you know, came out of Southern California and, you know, went to high school as a junior in Florida, came back here as a senior, walked on, was part running back, part receiver when he came, wasn't always a good hands guy, and Chandler probably is the best example of a young man that I've coached that's gone from being an average hands guy to a real good hands guy, and just fearless. If you saw the catch he made against Utah State, running down the middle of the field, jumping up with a helmet in the middle of his back with no thought of what was going to happen to his body, and just that, you know, we play with more personnel, so he doesn't play as many plays as he used to play, and he sits in front of me when I'm sending in the personnel every play, and he's like a little kid chomping at the bit. Are you going to let me go in? Or are you going to let me go in? I mean, he just loves to play, and I think that's an awesome thing to coach.
Well, one of your big play guys, Jabari Carr, a hard worker, a lot of fun to watch, a local guy, and then good to see Kyle Nunn, a major contributor this year, and he's back to full health as well. So your guys just really getting it done and helping David Fields put up those big numbers this season.
Well, I think David's overrated. I think the receivers are carrying it, don't you?
Yeah. We'll see what Coach Mack thinks. We'll bring him back in here for our final segment. But it is, to be serious though, it is just phenomenal watching what those smaller receivers are capable of doing, and you bring in this quarterback as a transfer, and he's got these tools to work with, and things are just clicking for the offense. I know for you, a lot of fun to coach and pile up these wins as well.
Well, very enjoyable, and the character that they present is just awesome.
Well, before we let you go, what kinds of challenges will your receivers face this weekend as we head up to Idaho to take on the Vandals?
Well, the first thing is we've lost 3 times in a row, you know, and I think that always presents a challenge, and you're going to, you know, you're walking into a situation when there's a lot of unknowns. They've just turned over coaches. Young people rally around new situations. You know, they want to play us. We've not beaten them. They're going to play with confidence, and we're going to have to come and perform and give it our best effort.
Okay, Coach, thanks so much for taking time to join us. At San Jose State wide receivers coach Terry Malley is also the recruiting coordinator here at San Jose State. Best of luck this Saturday against Idaho. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll be back to the Coach after a short break. You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show on 1590 KLIV. Show here on KLIV. Michael Spirit, San Jose State head coach Mike MacIntyre with you this Saturday at 2 p.m. The Spartans on the road in Moscow, Idaho, taking on the Idaho Vandals. The Spartan pregame show starts at 1:30 p.m. and you can catch all of the action right here on 1590 KLIV. Coach Malley said it's not necessarily all David Fields with these numbers this year. It's all his wide receivers.
Oh yes, there's no doubt about it. No, I think it is exactly right. They're all working together. It's all part of it. And, you know, David's done a phenomenal job. And you know, if he didn't have the line and didn't have the receivers and running back, he'd be the first one to tell you. It's all a group effort.
Well, Coach, looking ahead now to Saturday's matchup against Idaho, you come in 6-2, 2-1 in the conference, a chance to become bowl eligible because at 6 wins, everyone thinks bowl eligible, but the win over UTSA does not count towards bowl eligibility as UTSA is transitional in terms of FBS play. I know your focus, you hear all this bowl talk right now, you're taking it one game, one day at a time. I know as we talked about earlier in the show, So chance to become bowl eligible, but you're not thinking about that right now. And as we look at Idaho, they're kind of obviously just in a different situation. 1-7 on the year, 1-2 in conference play. They did have a bye last week, but tough times for Idaho right now. On the 21st of October, they fired head coach Rob Akey following a big loss to Louisiana Tech. Their starting quarterback Dominic Blackman and their linebacker Conrad Sheet are no longer on the team after violating team rules. Their tight end Taylor Elmo has been suspended for violating team policy. This is a program that moving forward will be an independent, as the WAC will not have football as we move forward. So up in Moscow, this is something where they could pack it all in, or you could be going up against a team that's against the ropes. They're a big underdog in this game, but this could be a situation for Idaho to rally and really pull it all together and try and defend their home turf against San Jose State.
Yeah, I think we'll get the latter part. I really do. They have a lot of kids on their team from California. A lot of their kids, a lot of our kids played high school ball with them. They beat us the last 3 years. They are a team that I think will be kind of like a wounded animal, so to speak, heal up and come out clawing and fighting and battling hard. It's going to be a really tough game for us. It really is. And playing in Idaho in the Kibbie Dome's a little bit different atmosphere. It's a little bit different for our kids, and we've got to be able to handle all the things they throw at us and just take care of ourselves. If we take care of what we do and prepare like we're supposed to and come mentally ready to play and take care of the football, not have any bonehead turnovers, I think that we will be able to hopefully be successful. But they're going to be giving us all they've got, and they can definitely beat us. They've done it, and they know they've done it, and all those kids have never been beaten by us on their team.
You're listening to the Mike MacIntyre Show here on KLIV. Well, I know for your team, last year's game certainly will be some motivation for your guys. Looking at Idaho offensively, senior quarterback Logan Bushnell is expected to get the starting nod. There's also a chance we'll see junior quarterback Taylor Davis. And Davis started last year here in San Jose, where Idaho had that come-from-behind victory over the Spartans. So how are you preparing your defense for this Idaho offense?
Well, I think they'll be very similar to what they've been doing, and they'll tweak a few things here and there according to what the quarterback likes to do. But they're not going to completely revamp their offense and all of a sudden go to Navy option or something. They're going to do what they've been doing and just go to the strengths of their team and try to attack areas that they think would be our weaknesses. And so we've just been practicing extremely hard, preparing for what they've done in the past. And the young man Bushnell had played earlier in the year. We watched some of that tape, and Davis played against us last year. He has a good, strong arm, and I think they'll do a lot of the similar things. I think they'll try to run the ball probably a little bit more, trying to keep our offense off the field, so to speak, run some time, and than they have been. So we need to be able to be stout against the run.
Well, looking at Idaho's defense, they bring that 4-3 package. What does your offense need to do in order to put up some points on the Vandals?
We just need to do what we've done all along, all year. We need to keep doing the same things and protect the football and run it well and play action pass. And, David throw it accurately and catch it and run with the football. And I think that if we just take care of what we want to do, like in every game, if we take care of ourselves, I think we'll be fine.
Well, Coach, before we get you out of here, time for one quick question from the fans here. This one from Matt Feast in Los Angeles. It says, 8 games into the season, what would you say is this year's biggest surprise?
Player or?
I guess you could go either way. Whatever comes to your mind.
Biggest surprise. I would say, to me, the biggest surprise. I knew he was going to be good, but I think he'd be 13 of 13. No, I would say Austin Lopez as far as being that in that area biggest surprise, because he just got here in the summer and started kicking. I would say David Fales, not as a surprise, but just the consistency of how he's played. I knew he was good, but putting it every game, he's been there. And I think that's been a really big deal and given our team a tremendous amount of confidence.
Well, they've been a lot of fun for us to watch throughout the season, and we're looking forward to more. San Jose State taking on Idaho this Saturday at the Kibbie Dome in Moscow, 2 p.m. The kickoff, 1:30 p.m. Spartan pregame show. Coach, again, thanks so much. We're looking forward to Saturday's game. Best of luck, and go get them. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. For Coach Mike MacIntyre, General Manager of Spartan Sports Properties, Jordan Friedman, and Jeff Moe, I'm Michael Spiro. So long, everyone.